All right, let's get this started. All right, so I'm picking up from the point where I just finished up teaching him how to make a sound on the mouthpiece, and we're about to move on to plugging the horn in, or plugging the mouthpiece into the horn, rather. There we go. Okay. This is a good moment because I interrupted my teaching by giving him a little story about how when I was learning brass, some kids would like whap their mouthpieces into the horn. And the teacher's like, "Why? Why are you doing that?" You know, just to accent the fact that you just gently twist the mouthpiece in, gives him another reminder, oh, I don't want to be like those kids in Francisco's first ever class, band class, that were smacking their mouthpieces in and upsetting the teacher. When I was teaching him how to put the hand in, I actually used a metaphor that I learned in those videos we had to watch for homework the other day. The one with the like princess wave or whatever. It's quite effective. I just never thought of it, so I tried using that one on him. It seemed to work. Normally, in a horn lesson, the teacher should be on the other side of the student. For whatever reason, it slipped my mind, and in hindsight, obviously I should have done that, but I think I did a pretty decent job adjusting to it. Later on in the video, he had forgotten that he needs to keep his elbow out, and he was covering the bell and just dampening his sound. And I picked up on it with my ears, but if I was sitting next to him, I would have picked up on that with my eyes. Probably would have happened faster. He actually does show me pretty good posture. For his first time ever holding a horn up. Holding a horn is really important. Like when I learned to play, I was like playing down like this because no one ever taught me. My director somehow did not stop me. That's when he tries to make his first sound, and he's getting like just air and like not really much sound. There's a little bit of sound. And I had to comfort him and be like, "Look, I don't care if you blast a note. I don't care what it sounds like. Give me a nice sound." And it worked. It worked. He got a like solid body of the sound out. And this is like his another try. And here his sound went back to sounding the way it was before, and I was like, "Uh-oh, he's regressed. What can I say to make him feel better? What can I see in him that's like if you see any progress?" And I did see progress. I saw that his sound started on time. Even though it was a weak sound, he was able to start sound on time. So there was some improvement. It's not like my teaching was completely ineffective. At least it helped him with something. So as a result of that airy sound, I was like, okay, take a step back. We're gonna go back to talking about the embouchure. And here he's starting to get some free buzzes in. Free buzzing is kind of controversial when it comes to brass teaching, but I think if you do it in the right way, like, and not really, it's pretty effective. And he breaks down in laughter because I said something funny. Very important to do, right? You don't want to have a lesson where everything is just like, okay, next we will play the etude. I was talking about when you make the embouchure. One way you can think of forming it is with like Squidward noise, and he found that quite amusing. We're just talking about it some more. I think overall in this lesson I could have allowed him to like make sound more. And that seems like a dub, but I got so wrapped up in okay, concept. This is how you do it. This is how you do it, and not enough of okay, try it. Just now, as I was speaking, um, he had shown improvement in his sound after I explained to him all that embouchure stuff, and we had worked with like Squidward noise and air. He gave me a nice big sound, which was great. This is the hand part I was talking about. I'm telling him like, "Oh, I hear your hand is dampening the sound." And I could have stopped it before it happened if I was sitting on the other side of him or seen his hand in the wrong place. Something to think about for next time. It just slipped my mind on this occasion. I am pretty proud of myself that I was able to deduce what the problem was with my ears. I mean, one would hope you could deduce that sound after playing the instrument for so long. Here, I'm giving him some positive feedback. He started the note on time and he sustained it. Two important things. Earlier in the lesson, he was like not starting notes on time and he would like play the note and drop the horn, like, oh, well, I sound terrible. Time to stop. So, making progress. I'm just talking about like how you got to audiate a pitch before you hear it and how it would be helpful. Um, I'm not sure how much of it was actually meaningful to him because I know he's not like a musician. So he seemed able to match pitch with my voice, but maybe next time I teach a beginner, I won't throw them into the world of audiation. All right, this is a moment of weakness. I just got him making a good sound, and for whatever reason, I decided, okay, it's time to work on tonguing. And I think it's because I was thinking like, okay, well, I need to teach him a song, so I need to teach him tonguing, and that's not even true. I should have planned this better, but you can play a song without tonguing any notes. That's what we did in like Woodwind Tech. I should have focused on just like keeping him making sounds, but instead I decided to cut his success short with a little tonguing lesson. I mean, tonguing is important, but I could have introduced it later or not at all. But it did make for a good point of reflection because he was not really understanding tonguing that well. He had a hard time like figuring out how to actually do it. He was mostly using his air to like the notes into like an articulation. And so it challenged me. I had to go through like, okay, how many different ways can I explain tonguing? I tried a couple different ideas, and they weren't working that well. And here, right here, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I finally realized, just take the horn off his face, have him just blow air, and see if he can just like tongue air coming out of his mouth. I'm glad I thought of it eventually, but I should have started with that. And even then, when we just break it down to air, he was still having trouble. He was going like, you had to tell him like, no, no, no. Here's how we're gonna do it. Tip of the tongue, top of the teeth, ta ta ta. I also should have done more of this. I should have done more of just listening to him play because I was on the wrong side of him, right? So I couldn't really hear him super well. He was sort of like a faint voice in my ear instead of the sound I was focusing on. I still managed to get him places in that situation, but something to think about for next time. Here we're still running through tonguing. And I tried the see if the backwards tongue method would work with him. Once again, I'm doing a lot of talking, and if I just gave him more opportunities to try the things I was telling him to do, he might have had better success. He probably would have had better success. Did some modeling for him. Now it's his turn. And see, because I stopped right after he like finally got a good sound out and moved into tonguing, when it comes time to play again, he forgot how to make a good sound, and so I had to go back and go, okay, we're gonna go do a little refresher course. Here's how we make a good sound. I could have been prevented if I just like kept him on that same track. It was kind of a waste of time that I like jumped back and forth between these two things. Um, for next time, do it different. And here I tell him, I'm gonna teach you a song, and he goes, "Oh no, I can't do that." Not a good sign, but I tried to give him some comfort. So here's a good time when I adapted. Originally, I was planning on teaching him on a lower note, but as we had gone through all this stuff of like making good sound and tonguing notes, I noticed he was gravitating more to a higher note. So I was like, okay, well, we'll just do this note instead. It'll be fine. This was an interesting moment. So he plays and he gets to the G, and like as soon as he hits it, he drops his horn. And I had to once again tell him like, look, you made it there. You should have stayed there. You know, it doesn't matter that it's the first time you ever picked up the horn. You're succeeding. You're improving. I think it stuck with him that time. Back to thinking about some free buzzing. Like I said, I had to sort of re-explain the whole sound making deal to him after I scrambled his brain with tonguing. I made him laugh again. I told him that as a brass player, we perfect how to make fart noises. He found that amusing. You know, sort of loosens the mood of the lesson a little bit. Yeah, I think that's pretty effective. Using my right hand to like tell him you got to go up or you got to go down. You know, you're missing the partial, and when I get there, give him the thumbs up. Nice visual cue that he's like, or nice visual feedback that doesn't remove the assistance I'm giving him by playing the note that he should be aiming for with him. If that makes sense. It froze. Ah, there we go. I like to use my arm to show, you know, how students should be blowing their air. It helps me, just reminds me like my air needs to be relaxed, nice big column, fill the room. And that's something, you know, I can do without even speaking. I don't need to say, here is how you breathe. I can go, breathe like this. That is in fact what I did. So at this point, he was we had played the low note together well, and I was happy with it. And then he's like, "Well, how do I play the higher note?" And for once, I said I was about to get to that, and I actually meant it. I was actually about to teach him how to do it. So we were on the same page for a moment. Pretty cool. Uh, I got like 30 seconds left. I know it's gonna stop. Well, without my permission. So I'm just gonna go to the complete 15 minutes. My video is frozen though. Also, one last thing, I was explaining the differences in airspeed, and it took me a little while to get to it. I could have just said fast air for higher, slower air for lower, but you know, I got wrapped up in my words. And here he actually overshoots the note, and I told him after this I was pretty proud of him for that because like it showed that he was physically able to move around the horn and play the different notes I was asking him to play. Sign of success. I got 3 seconds left.